Okay, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a recap of Girlfriends Season 1, Episode 3. Okay, so Linda ends up spending the night in jail, and Andrew finally arrives to represent her. But before going in, Gail and Sue fills him in on what's been going on and what they know about up until this point. And so Andrew hands Sue the it's some legal document that he wants her to go over before he actually files it to start the litigation process against John for age discrimination. And so you could tell as soon as he handed her that paper, she was like having second thoughts. Like she doesn't really want to go through with it. And so Andrew goes in, he sits down, Linda, and so the officers are basically asking her to recount, her story once again. But during a previous visit, they had taken the home computer, and after going through doing their sweep of the computer, they found some things that they found some interesting things. And so she basically said that was Mickey's computer. I never used it. I don't even know how to turn the thing on. And so they basically said that there was things like what happens if you fall overboard on a cruise ship was something that was searched, and like how to get to like a life raft or some other stuff like it. But basically she was like, oh well, the older he got, the more cautious he became. So that was typically him to research that before going on the cruise. And then of course they even went over Carol's statement. And basically Linda was like, I don't know that hoe. She don't know me or my family. She crazy. And so the officers basically said they pulled Mickey's phone records, and over the past year there had been like over 200 calls and texts between going back and forth between her Mickey and Carol. So they were able to establish that they did have some sort of relationship. So of course at this point Linda's sitting there like, oh my god, like she really doesn't know what to say. You can see that she's starting to have some kind of a panic attack, and then she's like, "You think I did it? You accused me of doing it." And she kind of stood up, and they're telling her to sit down, like she's having, I don't know, some type of attack, right? And so, at this point, an officer comes in and tells Sue, asks her if that was her car parked out there, and that is being told. And she runs outside, and they basically tell her, your tail light is out. Her grill was still jacked up. Like, this car is not supposed to be on the road. He basically told her how much it was going to cost for her to get her car out. And, of course, she's standing there cussing and fussing, right? So, Gail comes out. She has to get home because she has to go, I think, and check on her mom. And so, the car's being towed, so she has to go and she has to get on the bus. Because Gail had received the phone call. Basically they needed to talk to her because her mother can no longer stay where she is. Her mother is going to require more supervision, and they don't have the staff to do that where they are. And so they want to move her to basically a home, like a nursing home. And of course, Gail had been trying to avoid it for some time because she said she had made a promise to her mom that she had never put her in a place like that. Her and her mom go to the facility with I guess he said an elderly person service worker to see a place that was close to where she was before. And so Mama Edna was like, I ain't staying in this damn place. Like, she was looking around and looking at the people, and she's just like, no, 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 not me, not now, not ever. And so they get back on. So now they're on. Gail basically thanked the lady for taking the time to show them around. And Gail, she's getting emotional, and I think it's a lot of the stress. She's dealing with and caring for her grandson. Her son is in and out of jail. Her mom, she know that her mom requires more care, but she's stretched thin as it is. And then basically her marriage, she wants to get her marriage. She wants things to work out, and so she just has a lot on her plate. And so her mom, she could see the pain and the frustration on Gail's face. She basically said, I'm sorry I didn't like that place. And Gail was pretty much, Mom, that's a fine, that's okay, because I didn't like it that much. I didn't like it much either. Okay, so I have to backtrack some. So before going to meet with the elderly service worker, Gail was heading to the house. She heading to her apartment. She get there, and Corinne, I think that's her name. That's Ben's mother and Tom's baby mama. She was there with her new boo, and she looks to be like she's like almost 9 months pregnant. And so she came to see Ben, and of course, Gail was looking at her like, "What are you doing here?" She, had a court order saying that she has a right to see him and that she wanted to take him for the day and spend time with him. And of course, Gail was hesitant, but she pulled out the paperwork and showed her that, yes, I do have the right to see him and spend time with him. And so she was just a husband. Girl, she was just a hot ass mess, basically. And so she was a hood, like her behavior was that of a hood rat, basically. And she was basically like, she had a drug problem, which is why she lost custody of him in the first place. She's basically like, I got myself together, my life is on track, and I just want to spend time with him. I'm gonna keep taking him for the day. And she was like, when are you gonna bring him back? She was like, late. So, okay, so we fast forward a little bit. So, Gail and her mom goes back to her place, and Tom is there. So they release Tom. And so he's expecting Ben to walk in, and he's like, oh, okay, so where's Ben? And then she had to tell him that Corinne came and took him for the day. So, of course, he cussing and fussing, and, how could you do that? And he is just a damn ingrate, but at the same time, she made him that way. He's just... So her mom basically said, no, you don't talk to your mom like that. She's doing the best she can for all of us. And so... Eventually, Sue shows up at Gail's house to basically tell her that Linda is going to be charged with the murder, and so they're trying to find out everything they can find out about Carol. And so they go back to the consignment shop, and her Carol was off that day, and so her coworker was like, "Oh yeah, she's off. She's for bereavement of her fiance." She told her that Carol actually goes to this club where I guess Mickey band plays, and how she said that she was a singer in the band, this, that, and the third. And so Sue and Gail go to this club, and they kind of talk to the bartender, who then brings over one of the band members, and they basically say, yeah, we know that bitch, she crazy, she sung with us once before, she sucked, and she's a stalker, she's always here. And they basically paint a picture of her just and it seemed like she said that, yeah, she tried to ruin my life too. That's what the guy said. So, and then it went back to Linda. And so it's like, we don't know what was said, but the police are still, of course, questioning Linda. They started questioning her about the insurance policy. At one point, did you see the insurance rep? He had initially gone to the house, but she wasn't there. And so he went on to the police station, and he provided the police with a copy of the insurance policy. And so now they're questioning her about the insurance policy and their financial their financial status. He was like, you guys were basically in so much debt, but somehow you guys found a way to either increase this policy, or you found a way to get a whole new policy. So it wasn't looking good for her at all. And the fact that the policy had been upgraded or set up 2 months prior to him dying really didn't look good. So basically, they're ready to charge her. So Sue and Gail get back to the station, and they kind of barge into the interview like they're just about to charge her. And they find out, they basically tell them everything they know about Caroline, about how she's crazy, how she has these mental problems, how she's a liar, and they just go on and on about everything they found out about her. And so at this point, they let Linda go, of course, so they have to investigate what's been going on with her. Now, early in the day, Gail had set up a date with Dave. And so after all of this mess went on, Gail eventually leaves because she has to go and meet up with Dave for her day. So she gets back to the house. Dave is sitting on the couch, like he's just so sick, just disgusted. Tom is sitting on the other chair, looking like a big ass baby. And of course, her mom is still there. And so basically Tom starts in on Dave, and like I can't believe it, just a mess, just messy. It's like he's like intentionally trying to cause conflict between the two of them, and so uh, once again, Gail didn't put her foot down with Tom. It's like, you a grown ass man. You need to stay out my damn relationship, okay? And so basically, Dave was like, you know what? I'm not going through this again. He basically left. So now she's, it's just a mess. It's just a hot mess. For some reason, she cannot put her son in his damn place. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So the police let Linda go, and she heads home. So the insurance rep meets her, comes back by the house, and so they're sitting around, kind of going over the issue, the events of the day. And he comes in and he wants to find. So she has to recount the story again, and so he's basically saying that based on his report, is going to be how the insurance company proceeds. And so he was basically saying, what you've explained to me doesn't sound like a murder, and it doesn't sound like an accident. So basically, he was going to classify it as a suicide. In which case, if it is a suicide, she gets nothing. And so she's just sitting there like, oh my God, like she's thinking about. I can imagine thinking about what she owes on the house. You know, it's almost time for her to start. She has to make, the mortgage payments, and of course, they had other expenses. And so he was ready to classify Mickey's death as a suicide. And so after that whole thing, Sue eventually makes her way to the office. So she walks in, and she basically, she's making small talk with John. And she basically gives him the envelope that Andrew gave her. And, it was cordial up until the point he opened that envelope. And he's like, what the hell is this? You're suing me? And she was like, well, yeah, basically, I helped you create this company, and you're basically trying to force me out because you feel like I'm too old to do it. I'm too old to relate, even though I was damn good at my job. And yeah, so basically, she served him up, and she left. And so she's back at the house with Gail. It's nighttime at this point. And so they're kind of like winding down. The police has gone to, because Carol is now back at this club. She's listening to the music. She's drunk as hell. She turns out the same cops are there who's been investigating Linda, and they basically said that they need to talk to her, and this is where they tell her that they didn't arrest her and that they still have to investigate. So this sets her off, right? And so Linda's pretty much ready for bed. Sue is getting ready for bed. She goes in, actually gathers her stuff, and she goes into the bathroom to get, to shower, do whatever she needs to do to get ready for bed. And then you flash for a crazy bitch, Carol. She pulls up to the house. She knows exactly where the spare key is. So she done went into her damn glove compartment and pulled out 2 knives, right? So she goes in, she unlocks the door, and she ends up killing their cat. And of course, that's what set Linda's ear. She's like, what? I forget the cat's name. And so you see her kind of creeping up the stairs, and that's basically where the episode ends. So yeah, crazy bitch is in the house with knives. Everybody's in bed. Ruby's in her room. Sue's in the bathroom. Linda is in bed, probably halfway asleep at this point. And yeah. So that's basically how this episode ends. But all in all, a very good episode. And yeah, so I will talk to you guys later.